What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it because I got a lot to say about this thing. So, just to give an overall, I enjoy the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie. At the end of the day, I think this is a fun movie. It's a good adaptation, and it rectifies the mistakes that Annihilation does. But this movie, to me, also has mistakes of its own. I can't say I like it more than the 1995 movie because I think, in terms of following the source material and in terms of just being an overall more faithful adaptation, I think the 95 movie is superior to this. But in a lot of aspects, this movie is also superior to the 1995 movie. So to me, Mortal Kombat 2021 is a mixed bag. It has a lot of good and it has a lot of bad. So, without further ado, let's talk about the good. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, played by Hiroki Sanada and Joe Talisman. These two actors embody the roles of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. They were outstanding. I love the utilization of Scorpion in this movie. I like how this movie does not overexpose or overuse Scorpion, which I thought was a big plus. We see Scorpion in the opening prologue when he is Hanzo Hasashi in feudal Japan. We see the events that lead to his family and clan being slaughtered by the Lin Kuei, led by Bi-Han, the original Sub-Zero. And it's all handled really, really well. Sanada does a really, really good job at portraying the family man side of Hanzo Hasashi. We see that he's a loving father and a caring husband. And we see the time, in the brief scenes that we see him with his family, you can instantly tell that there is a love there. So that way, when his family and clan get slaughtered, we feel the pain that he feels. And I thought Sanada did a great job at conveying a lot of those emotions. Sanada, he's no strangers to the movies like this. He's done movies like The Wolverine. He also made an appearance in Infinity War. So Sanada is actually a pretty decent actor. And in this movie, as Scorpion, the opening prologue, I thought he was really, really good as Hanzo Hasashi. And then when we see him again at the climax in full Scorpion, he is a badass. So yeah, Sanada, no complaints whatsoever. He was really good as Scorpion. And when a sequel does get made, you can use Scorpion more. Like in this first movie, it was smart not to overuse him. In the sequel, to me, you've earned the right to make him feel more prominent. So yeah, no complaints whatsoever for Scorpion. Now, when it comes to Sub-Zero, the Bi-Han version of Sub-Zero, I love how they handled Bi-Han in this movie. They pretty much turned Bi-Han into a slasher villain, and it works. Like, it really, really works. This movie really doubled down on the asshole, dishonorable side of the Bi-Han character. And if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat lore, the movie can also make you believe that are we seeing the real Bi-Han, or are we seeing Bi-Han, or are we seeing Quan Chi in the guise of Bi-Han? Now, of course, we're seeing the real Bi-Han, and he's very, very remorseless, and it works. Joe Talisman does a fantastic job at just making Bi-Han into this unstoppable just guy who's out to just kill everything in his path. And the man is clearly having the time of his life playing the character of Sub-Zero, especially when he's in full Sub-Zero regalia. It looks awesome in live action. The scenes that Sub-Zero has, like I said, they're all handled really, really well. He's pretty much handled like a horror movie villain, and it works for me. I like the special effects of his freezing abilities. It has like this creepy, suspenseful type of look to it, which I enjoy. And a lot of the fight scenes that Sub-Zero is in, very, very enjoyable. Very, very enjoyable. The opening prologue with Bi-Han and Hanzo Hasashi is bloody and awesome. That whole prologue is just awesome. The Sub-Zero fight scene with Jax, is great too. Where Sub-Zero takes Jax's arms in this continuity. Sub-Zero is the one who takes Jax's arms. That was a lot of fun. The brief interactions that he has with other characters like Liu Kang and who else did he go after? Sub-Zero went after a lot of guys in this movie. It's hard to keep everything all in track. But he had brief altercations with Jax, with Liu Kang, think he also, had a little tuffle with Sonya and everyone else like that too. But it was done really, really well, and they didn't again, to me, I don't feel like they overexposed Sub-Zero. Like, they used him when he needed to be used. And his Sub-Zero's main conflict was to get this guy called Cole Young, who we will discuss momentarily, because I got a lot to say about Cole Young. But before I get to Cole Young, let me just wrap up my thoughts on Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero has always been one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters ever since I first started playing the games when I was very, very young. And to see Sub-Zero, the way he presented in this movie, put a smile on my face. And it really leaves it open, especially when we get to the ending, for Noob Saibot to come in and for Kuai Liang, Bai Yihan's younger brother, to come in, and that whole storyline to take form. So yeah, I'm really looking forward as to what they can do with Sub-Zero in the future, especially once the mantle gets passed. Because in this movie, I thought they did it awesome. Other characters who make an appearance in this movie, as I mentioned, you have Jax, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Raiden, Shang Tsung. I thought the actors, for the most part, were okay in their roles. Rashad Brooks, who played Jax, I actually think he fit the role pretty good as Jax. Like, I bought him as Jax. I liked him. In the scenes that he was in, I enjoyed him. I mean, this movie is featuring a lot of characters, so everyone is not going to get a whole lot of screen time, but but they all have their little moments. To this movie's credit, Jax has a pretty decent amount of moments. He has a nice little fight with Sub-Zero, and then he has 2 fights with Reiko near the end of the movie. So, yeah, Rashad Brooks as Jax, I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty cool to see him. Jessica McNabb plays Sonya Blade. I'm not a fan of McNabb as an actress. I've only seen her in this. I thought her acting was flat, though I will say this. She got the personality of Sonya down pat. I just think her delivery was just not good. But in terms of how she handled her fight scenes, I actually thought she did pretty well. She stood her ground. She has some entertaining fight scenes with Kano, and she has some entertaining fight scenes with Melina. So I'll give her credit. Handling her fight scenes, she was really good. Her acting skills, not so much. But did she try to embody the personality of Sonya? I thought she did. She's just not a good actress. And I'm just going to leave it at that. The 2 actors who played Raiden and Shang Tsung, whose names are... The actor who played Raiden, his name is Tandanabu Asano. I can't pronounce his name, but he's best known for being in the MCU as Hogan in the Thor movies. He plays Raiden. I was not a fan of this film's depiction of Raiden. Raiden did not feel like the wise mentor that he always is in a lot of incarnations. This Raiden came across as just being very, very heartless in a lot of areas. But once the movie progresses and you get closer to the end, that's where he starts to feel like Raiden to me. But there are a lot of scenes where his Raiden felt kind of off in terms of the writing. Not giving the actor any discredit, I thought his portrayal was decent, but he didn't really have a whole lot of material. However, the interactions that he had was with Liu Kang and Kung Lao. I like that. The short little speeches he makes, I thought were okay. His interactions with Shang Tsung had potential to be more, but not really. But, their interactions, they were cool for what they were, where they do brief histories of these two having obviously know each other. So, Raiden to me in this movie is a real mixed bag. It's give and take. Some things with him are good, other things with him not so good. There are moments where he does things out of character, and then there are moments where he actually feels like he is the character. In this aspect, I think Christopher Lambert's Raiden from the 1985 movie is a more accurate depiction of the character of Raiden. He does come across as that wise mentor who cares for his fighters, but he also has that snarky sense of humor. This Raiden, he comes across as just a douchebag who tries to have a snarky sense of humor, but it just doesn't come across as likable as the Lambert Raiden. That's just me personally. The man's name, what's his name? Shin Han. Shin Han, who plays Lao from the Dark Knight movie. He appears as Shang Tsung, and I did not like his portrayal of Shang Tsung whatsoever. Now, in terms of the overall look and how Shang Tsung appears in this movie, I thought was pretty cool. In terms of how the writers and the director chose to present Shang Tsung in this movie, I was not a fan of it. Shang Tsung doesn't do anything, doesn't get into a fight. The only thing he does is kill Kung Lao. Other than that, we just see him standing and talking and depositing exhibition. And in this instance, like with Raiden, Cary Tagawa, he was the superior Shang Tsung. Shin Han, to me, is playing Shang Tsung totally like straight, with no with no humor behind it, and it just comes across as just awkward it comes across as awkward to me. Like, I never get the sense that this man's having any fun playing the character of Shang Tsung, this over-the-top sorcerer who can shapeshift and suck souls. It just, his performance never really reached that plateau of just, campy, cartoony. No, you're in a movie called Mortal Kombat. You can overact and you can be campy and cartoony because the source material itself can be campy and cartoony, but it also has a seriousness to it. I never get the sense that Shin Han, who was playing Shang Tsung, really was able to mesh those two things together. That's just me personally. He never came across as an intimidating version of Shang Tsung. Now, when you compare him to Cary Tagawa's character, Tagawa from the '95 movie, he feels like Shang Tsung. He feels like the embodiment of Shang Tsung. That man is chewing the scenery so much, you're going to get a sweet tooth just watching him chew the scenery. But you can also tell that the man is just having tons of fun playing this devious evil sorcerer. Shin Han, on the other hand, I never got that. I never got that from him, which is a shame because his performance, even though I'm criticizing it, there is something there. He just needed to. I think the director needed him to let loose a little bit and not have him be so stiff. And I think he just needed more. I think he needed better material to work with where he can be more animated with his Shang Tsung performance. In some aspects he is, in other aspects he's kind of flat. It's, again, Shang Tsung is like Raiden. It's a very mixed bag in how the character is portrayed. You have Reiko, played by professional wrestler Nathan Jones. He's just there, doesn't do anything. You have CC Stringer playing Melina. Why is Melina in this movie without katana? I will never know. Not only that, why in God's name would you kill off Melina? I will definitely never know. Like, Melina in this movie is used in a wasteful way, which is a shame because Melina is a very, very popular character. She has a lot of story in Mortal Kombat lore, especially with her sister Katana. To me, Melina is wasted in this movie. Her fight scenes are entertaining, but she has no character, and we get very, very. The references to Katana Melina are very vague at best and non-existent at the worst. They make no mention that she's a creation of Shang Tsung's flesh pits, nor is she the sister of the sister of Katana. Just like, why is Melina even here then? Like, Melina and Katana go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. I didn't like that. No, instead of having the throwaway characters instead of presenting the throwaway characters that you did on Shang Tsung's side, you could have just had Katana along with Melina, have them do the fights, but also have them survive those fights. So that way we can expand upon their story more in a sequel. And I understand, in Mortal Kombat lore, no one ever stays dead, but as a first impression for a new continuity of films, not off to a good start when you're taking a very popular character in Melina and just using her in a disposable way. Was not a fan of that whatsoever. Melina deserves better in that aspect. This movie also features Natara, who is a new 3D era character who appeared on Deadly Alliance. She was a throwaway character in that movie. She's a throwaway character in this movie. The best scene she's in is when Kung Lao kills her with the razor blade hat in a saw blade like way, which was awesome and bloody. I loved it. Speaking of which, I actually enjoyed the portrayals of Liu Kang and Kung Lao in this movie by Ludi Lin and Max Hung. I thought those two fit the characters really, really well. They matched the personalities really, really well. They meshed together really, really well. I thought their fight scenes were very entertaining, especially Liu Kang when he's taking on when he's taking on Cabal in some scenes, and when Kung Lao is also doing his training sessions in some scenes as well. They embody the two Shaolin monks who are pretty much Raiden's two best fighters. I thought the actors portrayed them awesome. Their look is straight out of the video games. Their personality is straight out of the video games. They make references to their past, which is great. I was not a fan of killing off Kung Lao the way they did, which I hated. You could have saved that for a sequel, especially when Shao Kahn comes into the mix. But for what we got in this movie, I liked it. So yeah, the portrayals of Liu Kang and Kung Lao, I enjoyed it. I liked it. Yeah, so that's them. Reptile, he also makes an appearance in this movie in his more reptilian, animal-like form, and he has a very entertaining fight scene where he's taking on Cole Young, Sonya Blade, and Kano in like this little trailer home. It's a very entertaining fight scene. It's very bloody, and of course, Kano kills. Speaking of which, let's get to Kano. I love Josh Lawson as Kano. I thought he was awesome in this movie. He is one of the standout performances aside from Sonata and Joe Talisman. Josh Lawson embodied the scumbag personality of Kano to a T. His one-liners are hilarious. His comebacks are hilarious. His taunting of characters like Kung Lao and Sonya Blade is hilarious as well. His fight scenes are very entertaining. Josh Lawson, he is a standout as Kano. Like, this movie made Kano likable. Then again, when you play the games, Kano always had a kind of sort of likability. Like, he's the scumbag you like to hate, but he also had, you hate him because of what he does, but you like him because the guy has quick comebacks that are hilarious, that can be really, really funny. This movie captured that perfectly. I thought Kano was one of the better written characters along with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So I have zero complaints when it comes to Kano. If I do have a complaint, was not a fan that they killed off Kano the way they did. Hopefully they can rectify that in a sequel if Kano does come back, which I hope he does. So yeah, my thoughts on Kano to a T. Josh Lawson handled it really, really well. I enjoyed it immensely. Trying to go back in my memory banks to see if I covered all the major characters in this movie, which I did. And now that leaves us to Cole Young, played by Louis Tran. I don't like the character of Cole Young. He is bland as a bucket of water. He is generic as a bucket of water. He is just the audience's ears and eyes. The only thing interesting about Cole Young is that this movie tries to make him a direct descendant of Hanzo Hasashi by having him be a part of his bloodline. You take that aspect away from Cole Young, he is a disposable character with no personality and, to me, no real purpose. I don't like the fact that they tried to present Cole Young as the future champion of Mortal Kombat when Liu Kang is the future champion of Mortal Kombat. Not only that, you chose to put in Cole Young over Johnny Cage. And a lot of main criticism for this movie was that there was no Johnny Cage. Like, where was Johnny Cage? Johnny Cage in this film was nowhere to be found, and aside from an Easter egg at the end of the movie, and that's not good. Like, you don't use Johnny Cage. You don't use like this throwaway character in Cole Young and dispose of Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage can be the audience's ears and eyes because compared to everyone else, Johnny Cage is a more grounded personality since he's a Hollywood actor and he's not used to all this mythical mumbo jumbo. Now, does that mean you're going to be treading water? Does that mean you're going to be treading water with the original 1995 movie? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's Johnny Cage. And Johnny Cage has always been a very popular character in the Mortal Kombat lore. So yeah, I did not care for the character of Cole Young whatsoever. Nothing against Louis Tan. It's not his fault. He did the best he could to try and make Cole Young somewhat likable. He did have some decent interactions with Sonya Blade and with Liu Kang and with Kano and guys like that. But his character just didn't mean nothing to me. It just fell flat. To me, it fell flat. So yeah, wasn't a fan of Cole Young. I wasn't a fan of how they depicted Prince Goro in this movie. Prince Goro is a Shokan. He's the champion of Mortal Kombat, and Cole Young bitches Goro out. I hated how they treated Goro in this movie. The CGI of Goro looked pretty cool, but they made you can't make Goro into a disposable character. You can make Reiko into a disposable character, which is what they did. You can't do that to Goro. It does not compute. You do not build him up as the grand champion of Mortal Kombat like this movie did, and then have Cole Young bitch him out after he finds his Arcana, which I will get to momentarily. So yeah, the way they handled Goro in this movie sucked. I hated it. Another something that I did like too, I did like Cabal in this movie. They didn't use Cabal much in this movie, but I like the look of Cabal, the video games. I like the voice that Damon Herring gave Cabal, and I like the brief interactions that he has with Kano, which is very, very entertaining. And I like his introduction scene when he's talking to Shang Tsung, like Cabal. And I also thought his fight scene with Liu Kang was very, very entertaining also, which could have been used much, much more, which could have been extended upon much, much more. So yeah, Cabal, he was another standout. We didn't get too much of it, but I liked it for the most part. So those are my thoughts on how the characters were handled in this film. Mixed bag. Some are better than most, but overall, I enjoyed it. In terms of this movie's fight choreography and how they handled the fight scenes in the violence of Mortal Kombat, I thought they did it too perfectly. The fight scenes to me are very well choreographed. They're bloody, they're bloody, they're violent, they have fatalities, and they feel like the video game, which is fantastic. I got no complaints with that. Simon McQuaid did a really good job at directing the fight scenes in this movie. The opening prologue is very entertaining. The end with Scorpion and Sub-Zero in this frozen UFC ring is also very entertaining, and the fight scenes in between are also entertaining to watch as well. When it's all said and done, the fight scenes are extremely entertaining. The production values of this movie are well done as well. The special effects, they look good in a lot of areas, and in some areas they can look a little meh, but they never distract you and they never take you out. I like how we get brief glimpses of the Netherrealm, the fiery hell of Mortal Kombat lore. We get to see for a little bit, but it looks pretty cool. The look of Outworld, generic. I think you could have saved it by having a little bit of a purple hue there, here and there. But they make up for it in the third act, where we get like these familiar places like the pit of spikes. So at least that stuff looked cool. The references to Shao Kahn I thought was pretty cool as well. I'm not a big fan how Shang Tsung didn't mention the Emperor Shao Kahn. Shang Tsung's pretty much acting like he's the ruler of Outworld when he's not. But that's neither here nor there. At least we do get references to Shao Kahn. We get references to Nightwolf. We get references to Kotal Khan. We get references to Argus and Dahlia. We get references to, we get brief little references to Katana and Shinnok. So the movie does plant seeds for more prominent characters to appear in sequels, which I appreciate and I like. And those are for the fans like me who can spot those things out. Because Shinnok's amulet is in this movie, and there's this nice little joke where Kano tries to steal it, and Liu Kang's like, put that back. So I enjoy this stuff a lot. Alright, so now, with all that being said and done, let's talk about the one negative of this movie that really did not sit well with me whatsoever, and that's this whole thing of the Arcana. So, throughout this movie, the chosen fighters have a dragon tattoo, and this dragon tattoo is pretty much like your ticket to participate in the Mortal Kombat tournament. I did not like this aspect of the movie. It takes away from what Mortal Kombat is. Mortal Kombat is not about having some marking that means you're special to be in the Mortal Kombat tournament. The whole idea of the Mortal Kombat tournament is that it chooses the best fighters from all across the realms. It doesn't matter if you have a marking or don't have a marking. It's your talent that gets you into this tournament. This movie tries to do a Willy Wonka golden ticket type of thing, which I thought was kind of stupid. Not only that, you're treading some very thin water with dragon tattoos, especially when you're taking that from Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when a dragon tattoo allows you to travel from realm to realm through portals. I thought it was stupid in that movie, and I think the dragon tattoo is stupid in this movie. And that just goes on to this forced link that is trying to do with Scorpion and Cole Young, since Scorpion was the one who had the dragon tattoo, and by birth, Cole Young has that same dragon tattoo. And the only way for a fighter to get a dragon tattoo is that they have to kill another fighter to get that dragon tattoo. It's very convoluted, it's very forced, and it's just very dumb. And like I said, it threads very thin water when you're taking an aspect of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when that movie should be the furthest from your mind. So yeah, the whole Arcana aspect I hated it so much. It's so stupid. It takes away from Mortal Kombat, to be honest with you, because now you're saying, oh, in order to be in Mortal Kombat, you got to be very, very special. You got to have this golden ticket. You can't just be a good fighter. You got to have a golden ticket. If you don't have this golden ticket, then your skills be damned. That aspect is just stupid. I hated it. I did not like it. You don't need a golden ticket to be in Mortal Kombat. You need to be chosen. You need to be one of the chosen ones. You need your skills alone is enough to make you participate in this tournament. You don't need some golden ticket. So yeah, the whole Arcana aspect to unlocking your powers, I thought was just stupid and dumb. You didn't really need it, and it's just a forced way for some of the more human characters to unleash some of their powers when you didn't really need it. That's just me personally, especially when it comes to Sonya Blade. Like, she doesn't need a tattoo for her ring power to show up. She could just create a device and boom. And the same thing with Jax. Jax doesn't need a tattoo to make his robotic arms get buffer. Just build his cybernetic arms the way they're supposed to be instead of these skinny little twigs. It's just dumb to me. It's just dumb in a waste, and I didn't care for it. It's one of the big aspects of this movie that I really didn't care about. So yeah, I think I covered all the ground I wanted to cover with this movie. Like I said, this review was never going to be short. It was always going to be long because I have a lot to say about Mortal Kombat 2021. At the end of the day, this film is a mixed bag, but also I don't hate it. I found this movie to be very, very enjoyable. It's a shaky foundation for a trilogy at best, but it's not offensively bad either. Like, this movie does try very, really hard to be faithful to the video game and to put on a movie that is for the video games. And in certain areas, and in a lot of areas, I think it succeeds. And then in a lot of areas, I think it kind of falls off the rails a little bit, especially when it handles certain story aspects and certain characters. But as a total package, I do recommend Mortal Kombat 2021 for real Mortal Kombat fans. You're going to enjoy this movie because when it focuses on the basics of Mortal Kombat, it gets it right. When it focuses on the story that it's trying to tell, it kind of falls off the rails. And I do like how this movie does not go into the tournament. We kind of get a pre-tournament movie, so that way it builds up to the tournament itself and a potential sequel, which I hope they do make, because there's a lot more you can do. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Mortal Kombat 2021. End of the day, going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. And for what it is, that's a very solid grade. So yeah, sorry this review went almost a half an hour. I just had a lot to say about this movie. So, with all that being said, my name is AJ Legend. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.